Assalamu alaikum rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. So we going over ayat number 82 and 83 in surah number 17, right? For the ones who looked at the trivia questions, what a trivia question that was posted on there. Also, like, some people don't see the post, so like if you go to the channel and you see where they have like video playlist, you can see the post because they don't send a notification for them. But I added a link to 5 audio lessons, comprehensive lesson about what bid'ah is, what's actual bid'ah. And like some people don't see the polls or the trivia, but the question that we had on there was the Quran revealed? Not the Quran, astaghfirullah. Was Surah Al-Fatiha revealed in Mecca or Medina? Now there's a reason why I asked that question, right? Was it revealed in Mecca or Medina? Because the Salaf differed about that, right? Then the question was, what's the proof from the Quran that Surah Al-Fatiha was revealed in Mecca? So then they had a few choices, but every ayat that I put was beneficial. So I did put Al-Isra, Surah number 17, ayat number 82 or 83 as a choice. But just to see those ayats and discuss them. But some people will look at a question like that because you do have these type of Muslims, and it's fine to be that type of Muslim. But when you a person who want to seek knowledge and you want to try to grow, you have to be careful of these type of people. Like some people will say, I don't care when it was revealed, it don't matter. We just had the Al-Fatiha. Now, on some levels, it don't matter. We got the Al-Fatiha. We know the Al-Fatiha. Okay? Alhamdulillah. But when it comes to certain issues in the deen, sometimes a timeline has to be established. So in some instances, when it was revealed, it is important. Now, I chose that one to show this was an issue that the Salaf disagreed upon. Because I want to show, when it comes to disagreements, how individual statements, right? Because I've been talking about it, so I've been working my way up to this point for the ones who, follow along, right? So, these issues, where they differ, it also falls in line with acts of ibadah, acts of belief, etc. Right? So this is what I want to show some people. Not necessarily a deep dive, but again, to show how evidence is looked at, and then we're going to show when you see this mistake, when you see these mistakes or these differing, and one party is wrong, you will see that these crucial steps are missed. And I'm going to explain them again. Look at it. Quran, Sunnah, Ijma. Every time when you go and look, these crucial mistakes is missed. So we're going to start off with, for some people who deal with tafsirs and, deal with like some of the sciences of usul and different things that come with the deen, you all aware of Mujahid. Ibn Jabbar, something like that. So you will see his name a lot in Tafsirs Ibn Kathir and a lot of Tafsirs. Now look at this. He was from the second generation, right? So you got Mujahid, and scholar of Tafsirs. Alright? Credentials is heavy. His main teacher was Ibn Abbas. For people who familiar with Ibn Abbas. Okay? So his main teacher was Ibn Abbas, where he learned tafsirs and different things about the deen from Ibn Abbas, right? Companion. Top-notch companion. So Mujahid says Al-Fatiha was revealed in Mecca. Now, this also something else that I've been stressing. Sometimes scholars, they just go with what another scholar said. They look at what another scholar said and they either agree or they disagree. But they don't necessarily do the deep dives themselves. So he said it was revealed in Mecca. Now, some of his narrations, so what he went with is some athar. Narrations from companions. So some of the names off the athar is Abu Hurairah. And may Allah be pleased with all these brothers and have mercy on them all. So Mujahid go with narrations where they say the same thing. Al-Fatiha was revealed in, I keep saying Mecca, pardon me, in Medina. Right? So they say, so Mujahid is going with athar from not just only Abu Hurairah, but Abu Hurairah is one of the big names that a lot of people would know. So we use an Abu Hurairah, who said Al-Fatiha was revealed in Medina, right? So what's the problem? So Surah 17, ayat number, hold on, 87? Let me make sure. I don't think it ain't Surah 17, it's like Surah number, it's Hijr. Because 17 on my mind, because we doing 1782. It's Surah number 15. Surah number 15. So Surah number 15, 87. Now, in the trivia, how could this be the Leo for the answer? We'll discuss that briefly. So in Surah number 15, ayah number 87, it says, we have certainly bestowed upon you the 7 Madani, Al-Madani, which is the oft-repeated verses in the Grand Quran, right? So these 7 repeated verses is Al-Fatiha. Now, how does this prove that this was revealed in Mecca. That Al-Fatiha was revealed in Mecca because this surah was revealed in Mecca. Okay? Surah number 15 was revealed in Mecca. So therefore, but some of the Mujahideen say that ayat can be interpreted different. Okay? That ayat can be interpreted different. He got to stick to his guns. Now, this isn't finding no fault with them, but this, I want y'all to understand this process. So, okay, let's say it could be understood different. That is referring to 7 different ayats. What other dalil do we have also from the Quran that Al-Fatiha that was revealed in Medina? Also, the surah, the night journey. Why the night journey? 5 daily salah was revealed. Okay? So your 5 daily salats was revealed. Salat was revealed in like what? About 11. We'll go with 11 to 13, so we can keep everybody, because like I say, there's differences of opinion. So we'll say between 11 to 13 years in the deen, Salah came. They was in Mecca 13 years. So the 13th year before they went, it could have been revealed before they went to Medina. So you can't make Salah without what? Al-Fatiha. So in order for you to be able to make Salah, and this is from the beginning, Al-Fatiha has to be recited for you to make Salah. So that means what? This is even more proof, which I can go through more, but I just want to explain this. Even more, so this is more proof that Al-Fatiha was revealed in Medina. Now, with Mujahid being a scholar of tafsirs, how did he miss this? How was this overlooked? He went with Athar. He went with a narration and things that Abu Hurairah said. So now you go look into the life of Abu Hurairah. When did Abu Hurairah become Muslim? Did he become Muslim in Mecca or Medina? Abu Hurairah became Muslim in Medina. Abu Hurairah became Muslim in Medina about 6 to 7 years after they got there. Okay? About 6 to 7 years after Hijrah is when Abu Hurairah became Muslim. So I can understand him feeling like Al-Fatiha was revealed in Medina. He wasn't around in Mecca. He wasn't around in Mecca. So I can understand him having that opinion, or him, so they, sometimes they say it was revealed twice. There's different things out there, but sometimes you just have to accept what it is. So the point is, although these was great people, a mistake was made. regardless of whether people want to say, well, it was revealed twice, well, this was said, that was said. One, when you go to Quran, there's way more evidence that it was revealed in Mecca. When you go to the Hadiths and you tie the Quran just into the Salah, there's more evidence that Al-Fatiha was revealed in Mecca. Ijma' of the Sahaba is it was revealed in Mecca. Okay? So I'm going to choose my words carefully and just say a mistake was made. A mistake was made. Although this was a great scholar of tafsirs, when all of the dalil points to dalil versus opinion. So one of the key things is this: when an athar is used over Quran ayats, and then is used over hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, you got to know the rank, you got to know the rules. So to this day, because of Mujahid name and Abu Hurairah, to this day you still have scholars that say Al-Fatiha was revealed in Medina. But they scholars. But all of the evidence, the history of Islam, the Seerah, Quran, Sunnah, Ijma'. Now, why would it be recorded in tafsirs or something that Mujahid said this? Some of the reasons is so that people who make the same mistake knows that that's not what it is. But they're going to use beautiful language and say, well, the scholars differ. The Salaf, they differed on this issue. But there's ijma' that it was in Medina. In Mecca. So they're going to use beautiful language, but because there was a mistake that was made. Although these is extremely great people, may Allah be pleased with them, and they did tremendous work when it comes to the deen, but that's a mistake. And I'm going to say a mistake because I don't want to use the word they got it wrong. Because it's not from the etiquettes to say that. Because it was something that they seen or something that they felt that made them have that opinion. It could have been a weak statement from somebody else. You understand what I'm saying? So me pointing that out and showing y'all once again how you do a deep dive. Go look and see. Go look at Abu Hurairah. See how old was he when he became a Muslim in Medina? What was his age when he had these opinions? Did he change his opinion later on in life and that wasn't recorded? You understand? So, like for some people who they feel like these things don't matter, for some people it doesn't. But when you have to do a deep dive and look at timelines, then you have to know these things is extremely important. And when you're able to point this out, then you're able to point out, look, these was great Muslims. Great Muslims. And what I want people to see is, when this Quran, Sunnah, Ijma, these steps is skipped, generally when you see these mistakes, these steps is skipped. These steps is skipped. Okay? So, when you look at the whole thing is, so sometimes when it comes to other things, that may involve voodoo, that may involve salat, taimun, different things that people just locked and loaded on. There's no way these was great alims. They wasn't infallible. And then if you're not going to look at all the evidence and take a look, you might be up on a mistake. Now, before we get to the surah, to clarify, one of the brothers asked me why I don't consider, like a Imam Ahmed and them, why I don't consider them to be innovators if they did an innovation. Okay? And they're like people in today's time, why I don't follow along with the rest of the Salafis. And y'all can see, somebody got upset and unsubscribed. Actually, I put the video up, left it up for the people who actually needed to see it, then I took it down. Somebody else who didn't get a chance to watch it asked me to put it back up. But when I put it up the first time, somebody got upset and they unsubscribed. When I put it back up again, somebody else unsubscribed and got upset again, because when you understand the steps and you understand the language, you're going to be careful with your name calling. So why I won't call Tabligis and them innovators because they wipe their face and different things that they do, I'm going to tell y'all exactly why. And this is why people don't refer to those scholars as well as innovators. Because I'm going to put half. So that instead of had, I'm going to put half, because they have text. Because they have text. They actually have some form of a hadith that says, wipe your face. Now, because the way they do their rules, because they change their rules up, they accept certain weak hadiths for whatever reasons they want to. Even if the hadith is fabricated, even if it's made up, but they may feel like there's good advice because it's calling to good in that weak hadith, because feeling like wiping your face increases the chances of you getting your dua answered. Now, when you look at the scholars who debate whether that actual action is a bid'ah, some of the text, what you will see is they'll say it's a bid'ah doing it at the qunut, because the actual text doesn't refer to qunut. But then you can see qunut is still a dua. And the hadith says, when you supplicate, when you make dua, do this, make dua with your hands like this, and when you get done, wipe your face. So that's for any dua. Let's say the hadith was authentic. So that means after qunut, any dua. So therefore, you can't declare it a bid'ah because it doesn't strictly say after qunut, because some madhabs said after qunut do it. So when you understand the language and see what the language of the scholars is, and when you go up and don't just look at an individual statement, because you can see where great people had an opinion or they felt a certain way that they stood on it and they was wrong. They was wrong. So I wouldn't call them innovators because they actually have some text. It actually has some text. Now, if somebody say And to be honest, that was the very first thing when I went into a masjid. That was the very first thing that was questionable said to me. My first time making salat with the brothers, and then there was one brother who just wanted, I ain't gonna do that. But when we got done making salat, and it was actually Jumu'ah, right? So when we got done praying, not everybody, but some of them put their hands up like this. So I just went ahead and put my hands up at this particular time. Because I know you can raise your hands for dua. But people do need to look into, I ain't gonna do that. So I raised my hands for the way that I thought I was supposed to at that particular time. So then, but I'm still just looking and observing. It's my first salat in the masjid with the Muslims. Okay? So the brother said, you got to wipe your face. You got to do this. So I looked at him and I said, for what? He said, because if you don't, your dua won't be accepted. Now I'm going to be honest, I didn't make no dua. I just put my hands up because they was doing it, but I understood it was for a dua. Okay? So I still didn't do it. So he's like, man, your dua ain't going to be accepted. So I told him, when I get home, I'm going to look into it. Because at that time, I still lived out of town. And I drove back and forth and told him, what you just told me is doubtful to me. So it's a doubtful matter. So therefore, I'm going to stay away from it. But when I get home, I'm going to go get into the books of hadith. And I'm going to look for some clarity. And if I don't find nothing, I got some at that time, some brothers in New York and also Philly and Jersey that I can ask. Okay? Now, of course, they say that's a bid'ah, that's an innovation. Okay? But even if it is, the etiquette is to say that they made a mistake. Because they had text. It wasn't like they just made it up out of thin air. They had some text with the Rasul name attached to it. They came up with their own little method and said this hadith is acceptable for us. So they actually had some text. It's weak. It's not acceptable. So I'm not going to do it. But I'm not going to call them innovators for it. Because they had text. Now, one thing that you have to understand is this. Allah Azza wa Jal might forgive them for that mistake that they making, because that mistake that they making was stamped by imams, major scholars of schools of thought, and others than them. And like I say, if a major scholar like that, they do some ijtihad, they really look into the issue, and if they make a mistake in their ruling and you follow them in that, there's rewards. Now, Allah Azza wa Jal may forgive them for that mistake that they're making due to some more hadith. The one I just quoted, if the scholar does the ijtihad and make the mistake, one, that mistake is on him, but the reward is there. But Allah Azza wa Jal may not forgive you for referring to them as innovators and going as far as to say stay away from their masjids, tear up anybody name who went to teach at one of those masjids. Now, why you might not be forgiven for that? Because you might not even know to make Tawbah for me. Now, which major scholars stamped that got a whole school of thought? You can't say Imam Ahmed stamped it because he taught it and did it. You can't say Imam Hanifa stamped it because he taught it and did it. Who stamped calling people innovators for acting up on something that has text that they was taught by great imams. It was just a mistake. And over the years, people step in. That's why you have things recorded in your hadiths to clear up those mistakes. These was mistakes. You're not supposed to do this. But some people, fanatics, up on these imams, no, not what my imam said. This falls under a recommended act. It's mandub. It's mustahab. There's a reward if you do it, but there's no punishment if you don't. Okay, cool, alhamdulillah. Do what you please. But I understand Allah Azza wa Jal might forgive them for some of those things because they got maddened. They got maddened. Okay? But, like I said, Allah Azza wa Jal might not forgive me for calling them imbeciles, ignoramuses, totally tearing down everything that they do. It's not shirk. But see, like I said, some people don't know that some of their favorite imams did these things. And then some of the people that they stick to fanatically, and because they said this, that don't make it the beginning and end of everything. The beginning and end of it all is Quran, Sunnah, and then you need that ijma'. So when you don't know how to, and like I said, I wanted to show all of that just to show sometimes, and with the wording and the etiquettes, because you make an excuse for your brother. So saying they made a mistake, these was knowledgeable people. They looked into some things. They went off to somebody else that they relied off of. But like I said, sometimes some scholars, some great people, just look at what somebody else said or what somebody else told them. Khalas. They don't need nothing else after that. But sometimes it'll go against Quran, Sunnah, and Ijma'. And even looking at these issues like Al-Fatiha and understanding these things, then you can start to see the trickle down and how these things came into the issues like wiping your face. Now let's say for instance it's something like you just gonna jump up, call the adhan, give one part of the khutbah, jump up and call the adhan again. Now this is something you done made up out of nowhere. Where's your text? You know what I'm saying? Just like sometimes when you look at certain things, where's your text? Quran, Sunnah, Ijma'. Just like with in a Hanafi fiqh where it says if a sinful person lead the salat, it's invalid. Okay? There was no text, but the understanding was, and why the adhan is not valid. And when you got enough people, you need the adhan to be called, right? Some people will say if the adhan ain't called when you got enough people, some people will say this salat is invalid. Okay? Because of some madhabs. But listen, the reasoning was why they say it's invalid, because they said a sinful person, an openly sinful person, their testimony is invalid in court. In court. But see, you can have some sinful people that's honest. They might not be liars. Some sinful people known for their honesty in the streets. 90% of the time with some of these people that we consider sinful in our day and time, they be honest people. You can rely on what they telling you. But I know in Islam, because of certain things with isnads and certain rulings, their testimony is rejected in a court of law. But that don't necessarily mean that they telling a lie. You're not going to put them in an isnad or no hadith. You're not going to put them in a court of law. So because of that, that means their adhan is invalid, and in every single circumstances of them leading the salat, the prayer is invalid. But if they praying by themselves, or if you make an Eid, if it's they're giving an Eid khutbah and doing an Eid salat and Jum'ah, and there's absolutely nobody else available, then that isn't invalid. But what's the text is based off of an opinion or something that they looked at. So anyway, so I wanted to just, like I said, man, while I clear this off and let's get into this ayat. Okay? Very important. So just understand that, and once you understand this, then you can understand no matter how great the person is, if they not Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, they can make mistakes. And some of these things are mistakes, and some people really are acting up on some things that never should have seen the light of day. But because they didn't want people fighting and bickering, so some people will say all of this, like I'll tell you this right here. If you're able to do it, but all you have to do is look. They say that the scholars say every single one of the madhabs, how they pray, how they make wudu, every single thing that they do, every choice, all of it is permissible. Okay? Then say, okay, alhamdulillah. And they handball it. Okay, alhamdulillah. You're a scholar. Pray like the Hanafis then. For now on. I bet you they won't do it. Tell the Hanafi, pray like the Malikis. For now on. I bet you they won't do it. What did I tell you? They don't believe it's permissible. Pray this way on Monday. Pray this way on Tuesday. Hands below the navel on Monday. Hands to the side on Tuesday. Hands like this on Wednesday. Alternate them. Don't talk beer 3 times 1. I bet you they won't do it. But I'll leave that for another day. So let's get into this ayat, man. And I'm going to touch tab serious, man, from some of my new favorite books, man. I done already, wallahi, man, I done already ordered some more. This ain't something you read from beginning to end, though. I mean, you can, but you'll get lost in translation. So I just decide which set of tabs here I want to look at. But anyway, like I be having to mark them like different pages. So look, this one actually showed up today. And we gonna do, see, this volume number 16. So I got 15 and 16, right? Or did I get 16, 17? It don't matter. Yeah, because I wanted Surah 17, right? So look at this. Hold on. Yeah, Surah 17, ayat 82 and 83. Okay? Because I said in the video one time that some people can read the Quran and it can make them worse. But there's numerous ayats that speak about this. Okay? So, just on a plain Jane, looking at, especially if anybody looked at it in the trivia, if they looked at the ayats, right? When you go to Surah 17, let me pull up the plain Jane without the tafsirs, right? And this is the night journey. And you go to ayat number 82 and 83. Look at this right here. I might read number 81. Okay, I'll read. Let's read 81, right? I almost want to read 80. Alhamdulillah. So look, 81. And declare the truth has come. I just thought of another ayat that I want to read to the people. Surah 6, 119. Let me mark that down so I won't forget it. 6, 119. That joint hard, boy. Surah 6, ayat 119 is like that. So, ayat number 81, Surah 17, ayat 81, right? And declare the truth has come and falsehood has vanished. Indeed, falsehood is bound to vanish. Right? This deen done came, man. The truth has came to do away with falsehood, right? And we send down the Quran, that which is a healing and a mercy to those who believe. Right? But it only increases the wrongdoers, the zalimun, and nothing but loss. So you can be Muslim, but you could be a Muslim criminal. You could be a Muslim wrongdoer. You can be a new Muslim who's running around when somebody talk to you about pagan holidays and all these other things that's not permissible. And then you want to use Quran ayat to justify them. Guess what you're doing? You're becoming worse. The Quran is actually making you worse. But Allah Azza, because you're becoming a zalim. But Allah tells us this in the Quran in more than one ayat. I think Surah 9. Surah 9. I think either 49 or 149. It escapes me. Let me take a look real quick. And then I'm finna hurry up and get off of here, man. Inshallah ta'ala. Surah 9. It ain't 49. Y'all pardon me, man, for a moment. It ain't 49. It gotta be, it's in here. It's number, okay. It's 124. Why the heck was I off like that? 124. So in Surah 9, 124, it says, whenever a surah is revealed, some of them ask mockingly, which of you has this increased in faith? Like, what did the Quran do for you? What did surah do? What did this mean to you? Like, did this do anything to you? Did this make you better? And then it says, as for the believers, it does increase them in faith and they rejoice in it. Right? But these hypocrites, these Muslims, they think it's funny and they really making a mockery of the Quran. You know, this surah really don't do nothing for me. And you see some Muslims who read the Quran and they'll say that. You know, I don't really like reading the Quran. It don't do anything for me. Okay? So then coming into ayah number 125, but as for those with sickness in their hearts, it has increased them only in wickedness, upon their wickedness, and then they die as disbelievers. And in another translation, English, because I'm giving y'all the English, right? But as for those in whose heart is a disease of doubt, disbelief, and hypocrisy, it will add suspicion and doubt to their suspicion, their disbelief and doubt, and they will die while they are disbelievers. But they may consider themselves to be Muslims. So this is another couple of ayahs that show how the Quran make hypocrites worse, volumes, wrongdoers worse. So we're gonna use a tafsir from, well, everybody know tafsir is Ibn Kathir, right? So the ayah that says, but it does not increase the wrongdoer, the volume, except in loss. Tafsir Ibn Kathir says that is, he does not benefit from the Quran at all, right? He doesn't memorize it, nor do they comprehend it. Indeed, Allah made his Quran a healing and a mercy for the believers. Let's look at Fath al-Qardah, right? This Imam Shakani, his tafsir. And it does not increase the wrongdoers except in loss. That is, the Quran as a whole, or some of it, does not increase the wrongdoer who put denial in place of belief. And doubt, so denial in place of belief, and doubt, and suspicion in place of certainty and reassurance. And then they put a more emphasis on accepting loss, meaning destruction, because listening to the Quran angers them and enrages them and causes them to increase the commission of shameful acts out of rebellion and stubbornness, and at this point they perish. It was said the loss is a decrease, like he's saying, so it increased them in filth upon their filth, referring to another Quran ayat. Now we got to expand it. It don't just mean like we reading the Quran, right? But if you giving them some deen about something that they doing, and you say the Quran says, the hadith say, it upsets them. So like some people be like, now I read the Quran, reading the Quran don't enrage me. But if you say, hey, the Quran said you can't deal with intoxicants, that'll upset them. Hey, the Quran said you can't be having girlfriends and boyfriends, that upsets them. Hey, the Quran said you can't be eating pork, swine, anything that comes from it or what's made of it, any of that. That upsets them. My man be asking me why I do that sometimes. Because that means snap out of it. Not no clock tea or none of that weird stuff they doing. Snap up out of it. Some people, when you tell them the Quran says this, or it's other things that involve the deen, when you talk to them about it with the Quran, authentic hadiths, and ijma, they get upset. Just like even with me, because I still talk like I'm talking to people on the block, you know, and sometimes I pronounce words the way we pronounce them in our region. But as long as you understand what I'm saying, and then some words that I used before I learned Arabic, sometimes when I'm not reading them, I still pronounce them the same way because I have been pronouncing them like that longer than I hadn't been. But that doesn't mean that a person don't know what they're talking about. And then when you say Quran, Sunnah, Ijma, and then you show the rules of fiqh, and then you start to show they change their rules, and you show it and improving it, it upsets them. Instead of increasing them. Instead of increasing them. You see what I'm saying? So, I'm going to close on this. Daqiq. One moment. That didn't even pause. My bad, man. I had something on. I had to go turn it off. But anyway, back to my point, man. Allah Mustaan. Some things, man, some people I done lost my whole little frame of thought. But anyway, just continuing to the next thing that I was going to discuss, man, and close out with it is that thing still ain't off. Daqiq. Okay, so like I'm saying, with calling people innovators and things like this, right? And you understand they had some type of a text, and a lot of things that they do, that some people is referring to people that have bid'ah. But one thing you'll notice is people with a certain level of education, they don't do this. What would be better? Understanding that they have some text. Understanding they didn't just make something up out of the clear sky. Right? When you understand that, you will try to sit with them and have some clarity with them, and try to work with them to bring about the correct understanding. Fighting them and calling their names and trying to warn against them and tear down their honor, that doesn't help the deen of Islam. It doesn't help the deen. And then to sit down and say, well, we straight over here because of what we call ourselves, and the ones who call themselves is this, and this. But what you call yourself doesn't match the actions of that name. Again, it's like calling yourself a mechanic, but you don't know how to fix cars. That's a selfish point of view. Because they still Muslim. And some people can't grasp that concept. Now, are there innovators? Absolutely. But some people with that tag, they shouldn't have it. Especially when you go as far as to tear down the masjid, tear down people who went and prayed in it, or went and tried to give them some haqq. That ain't the way. That ain't the way. Let me touch Surah 6. I ain't even gonna do no tafsirs, man. Let me close on it, man. So when you have an understanding, and what I'm trying to give y'all, let me reiterate. When you know how to look at what went on, who said what, who they got it from, if it mattered to you, then you can understand, okay, I saw how this happened. Okay? I saw how this happened. Because these is good people. They not just people who making up stuff. But that's why individual statements is not the haqq. That's why ijma. What's the ijma? And when you go and look at the ijma, you will see where I had written right here, Quran and Sunnah, you will see that these steps was in place. And then when you see where there's a mistake or something going on, these steps wasn't taken, or some people is playing the game with their own rules. Some people playing the game with their own rules. And alhamdulillah, that's fine. But we can't never forget one simple thing. Allah Azza wa Jal didn't give the religion to them. Allah Azza wa Jal gave his deen to Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam to teach, to show people how to implement. Okay? Because sometimes people's opinion go against the proof that comes from Quran and Hadith. Look at this right here. Surah 6, ayah number 119. And it be ayahs like this, man, where I be like, man, Allah not playing. Allah not playing. Right? So we gonna touch 117, right? Just to ease into it. So 117. Verily, your Lord, it is He who knows best who strays from His way. And He knows best who are the ones that's rightly guided. So it don't mean if whatever group we claim it and we saying y'all misguided, and y'all might be right pointing out some misguidance. I gotta pause and say this, because one of my guys, man, his name Bilal, right? Me and Bilal, man, we used to be real cool. And sometimes we used to see Muslims in the community get into it. And, you know, we would be listening, and I would say like this: look at them arguing like that, and they both wrong. They both wrong. Okay? But they arguing and they going back and forth. Sometimes when you look at two particular groups and they arguing, one group, y'all pointing out the truth and the shortcomings of these people. They pointing out the truth and the shortcomings about you. Right? But the difference is, they don't understand where y'all shortcomings came from. One group don't understand where y'all shortcomings came from, because they're arguing from an uneducated point of view. Then another group is arguing from an educated point of view, but they both proving to each other how wrong they both is. But neither one of them can hear neither one of them, because they so stuck on, this is my group and my group has the haq and yours don't. But they both pointing out each other's shortcomings, and they're extremely truthful about it. But they groups, the ones who follow up behind group A and the ones who follow up behind group B, they egg them both on. And you have people arguing from an uneducated point of view, so they really can't argue. They could just say little quotables. Okay? And then one can academically, but they pointing out true mistakes in both of them. But one group mistakes came from madhabs. Some of it. Okay? Some of it. So when you're looking at this, Allah Azza wa Jal knows who's on the wrong way and who's on the right way. But both of these groups got some wrong in them, but they both claim we're the righteous group. We're the saved sect. That's why one say Ahlul Sunnah wal Jama'ah, The same sect. The other one may not say Ahlul Sunnah wal Jama'ah, but they're going to quote the Hadith. We're the same sect. But neither one of them can acknowledge their wrongdoings, which they clear. Okay? But Allah knows. So then the next ayah, number 118. So eat of that on which Allah's name has been pronounced when it was slaughtered, and truly believe in the wahi, right? Truly believe in the ayats, in the revelations, what has been revealed, right? Number 119, look at this. Why should you not eat of what is slaughtered in Allah's name, when Allah has already explained to you what He has forbidden to you, except when compelled by necessity? Then it comes in and say, now that's a question though. Then it says, many deviants certainly mislead others by their whims out of ignorance. Surely your Lord knows the transgressors best. And surely many do lead mankind astray due to their own desires through the lack of knowledge. Sometimes people don't even have the knowledge or understanding to know that they misleading people. And because your sales pitch, cling on to us, whatever group you call yourself, whatever madhab you choose, cling on to us, because we are the ones with the haq and no mistakes. While they point out the mistakes in each other and can't see the mistakes in themselves. And when you go and look, you will see these steps, Quran, Sunnah, and Ijma', has been skipped. Even when you go and look at some of your greatest minds, the mistakes been skipped. For whatever reasons, man. For whatever reasons. Now, even though this is referring to like slaughtering, but where Allah is saying, look, I done already told you what's forbidden for you. This is outside of just haram meat. Haram anything. Allah Azza wa Jalla done already told you about intoxicants. Allah Azza wa Jalla done already told you about fornication and adultery. Allah Azza wa Jalla already told you about this and told you about that. But what Allah tell us in the Quran, just like if you say in the Quran, Allah told us don't be splitting up and dividing amongst ourselves. Say that Quran ayat to some people, especially if they claim to be the people, the only people that's the saved sect. I bet you they get mad. And then I bet you they come up with some type of justification. Oh, those are the people of desires. Those people are Ahlul Bid'ah. Okay. What are they desires, brother? What's the bid'ah that they committing, brother? Oh, this bid'ah, this, that, and this and that. Okay, alhamdulillah. You do realize there's a matin for what they doing though, right? You do realize this come from some of the great imams on the list that you got to take from, right? Whatever you're going to call them, you got to call these great imams the same thing, brother. But then when you throw on, you can't take from them. You can't take from them because they wipe their face. But you could take from Imam Ahmed Hanbal. You can't take from any imbecile, no ignoramus who went to the graves and made du'as. But you could take from Imam Shafi'i. You could take from Imam Ahmed Ibn Hanbal. Do that sound like people that really have a full, deep grasp on what they're talking about? And the only reason why I'm mentioning that is because guess what? You done became everything that you want against. Oh, you listening to Shadid Muhammad? You listening to this one? He went to that masjid. He's on the Khalil of this one. He went to the masjid over there where they're wiping their face. They do bid'ah. Fulan and Fulan. He did this and that. He said this. You can't take from him. But you could take from Ahmed Ibn Hanbal, who went and made dua at graves to dead people. Not saying he made it to them, but everything that y'all say, this and that, and you can't take from this and that one, yet you're taking from people that did the same things. So what do that make you? What do that make you? And that's why for people who have some understanding and know, they know what you really look like. Don't fall into it, brothers. Don't fall into it. And as long as whatever group, as long as any group makes sure that you stay within the confines of what they want you to know, you just might stay in that box and you might never outgrow it. See, this isn't my box. Quran, Sunnah, Ijma, Hikmah, this and that. This law of the land is laid down in the Quran. It's laid down in Hadith. Imagine that. You gotta be careful who you take your knowledge from. How dare you listen to that imbecile? They pray at graves. Be gone, peasant, stupid idiot Richard Dean and the likes of you. I take from the likes of Imam Ibn Hanbal, who did the exact same thing that you tearing them down about. Shafi and the rest of them. But you can, why can't you take from them? Why can't you listen to them? You understand? Y'all see how twisted this is? But then maybe you don't, because you too caught up in that lasso, man. You too caught up in that lasso. But anyway, man, let me get up off of here, man. And inshallah ta'ala, man, people could benefit. I know this is going to upset some. Some people not ready for new information. Some people feel like it's bashing. And I understand. It ain't that people mad at me, man. Sometimes people just, the truth hurts. Think about your deen, man. And I gotta close on this, man. It's a brother in Egypt, right? There's a YouTube channel called Make Hijra or something like that. Something Hijra, right? I'm gonna describe the brother, just in case people want to go look at him. Light-skinned dude, kind of heavy set, gray beard with some henna in it. It's a little red, but you can still see the gray bald head brother. And he had different guests who made Hijra and stuff. Well, anyway, he got this young brother on there from America. He moved to Egypt with his family as a teenager, right? Well, anyway, he's in Al-Azhar University. So he cleans up the misconception, because Al-Azhar University is an Asheri school. It is an Asheri university. Egypt, some people will call Egypt an Asheri country. Okay. But so Al-Azhar University is an Asheri university. So some people will say you can't go study there. But like I said, these people who haven't studied for real, okay? But he was clearing up the misconception. You have teachers that ain't Asheri. Me personally, wallahi, one of my teachers was a professor and still is to this day, a professor in Al-Azhar University. And he was an Asheri. Okay? And we used to do Islamic studies and hadiths. Okay? Now, I wasn't really sure whether he was Asheri or not in the beginning. And I wasn't going to ask him because he started off as my Arabic teacher. And he seen like my books. And he seen all the books of hadith that I had. So we started talking about some hadiths, and he was like, okay, you know enough about hadiths that we can work. You know what I'm saying? Like you can understand where I'm going to be coming from. So we started doing hadiths and Islamic studies, which is what he had a PhD in. But basically they were just saying how every science is there, hadith, everything. And he's also going through usul ad-din. But I think he graduated and he got one degree, and now he's going back and he's going through usul ad-din, foundations of the deen, which I've studied usul on a very small basic level. Okay, the foundations, right? And the point is, he comes back to America, and his intentions is to come back to America and do about 5 to 10 years. And the man said to him, you know, people of your caliber, it's easy now to just set up a website and you can open up a school online. Like, why not just do that? Like, why go back to America? You know, why go back to the belly of the beast? You got a wife, you got a child that's in Egypt. Like, why go back to that? And that man said, Yani, and I mean with a straight face, and you can hear the pain in his voice. He said, the situation in America is very sad. And I'm talking about, man, my heart just did like this. Crinkled up like a ball of paper. Man, I felt that so bad when he said that. He said the situation in America is very sad. He said, man, when you go to America, the very basics of deen, it isn't there. It isn't taught. Just like right now, some of the things that I be talking about, it be people who hit me up like, man, you shouldn't be talking about that. You know, you being reckless. You think this, you just want fame, all type of weird stuff. Because one, I'm saying stuff they ain't heard before. Two, they going and talking to the people who hate everybody. And it just is different than what they're talking about. But three, people don't even know the stuff I talk about. This is the basics. This ain't no way up there stuff. That's the basics. But for some people who've been Muslim so long, man, this sounds like some real scholarly, gotta be in school, like if you really absorbing it, not you Not you listening with your emotions and how dare you, who you think you is to say this and that about Mujahid and all these weird things that people have to say because they don't like it. Man, this stuff is basics, man. And like people talk to me, and like an individual was saying, like, we don't really know how to go dig into stuff and look into stuff. I'm showing y'all on a very basic level because it ain't like we in a class, and it ain't like I got 10 weeks with you undivided attention. They just little YouTube things. Now my guys, them who I work with, they get a little bit more in depth. But I'm dropping the jewels so that people can know to start looking through certain things, because due to certain things and this and that, people have done away with tafsirs and hadiths. Some people, like I said, all they know is what a madhab says. And then if you say something, oh, well, no, they are just different. You're not a scholar. You can't have a difference of opinion. But see, I understand the language. And then I understand the basics. And then I know how to go look at the dalil for myself. I know how to dig into the usul, the foundations. The foundation of hadith, the foundation of fiqh. I know how to go dig into the stuff and take a look at it. And then sit down and say, I see how this happened. I see how this happened. And now that I'm learning a madhab from beginning to end, you can't pull that one. You can't pull that wool over my eyes no more. You can't just close it. Oh, this handbally fit. Because now I can sit down and say, that ain't handbally fit, bruh. That ain't handbally fiqh what you doing. That ain't Shafi fiqh what you doing. But I'm gonna try to stick it out. Right now I'm going over that kind of like what some people get when they listening to me. Like, wait a minute, now I don't like what I'm hearing. I don't like it. Because what I thought I knew before I stepped into it. I ain't gonna keep talking about it. But, learning, it's expanding some of the fiqh aspects of, it's giving me more stuff to do deep dives on. I'm using this madhab to practice. And then everything that there is no dalil that they not presenting, let me go dig into this and look at the dalil, and then look at how, and then see how they looked at it. Okay. And then look at all this and that, and then keep going. Because like I say, this is a 5-6 year course. I'm only pushing 2 months in. Month and a half. So I had to wait to see what it had to offer. But like right now, I'm like this. I understand you believe in all of this because it's all you know. But I know it ain't right. Okay? Not because I'm a scholar. But anyway, man, let me get off that, man, before somebody get upset with me and hit me up on Telegram and I'm all type of imbeciles and, weird stuff. Who do you sit with? Y'all know what my new answer is? Somebody you don't. Or who's the scholar? What do you learn from? Just like 5:30 a.m. It's 1:37 right now a.m. At 5:30 a.m. I'm scheduled to sit with Sheikh Mansour Saku. I can't say his last name. Scholar in Hanbali fiqh. Official. Right? 6 hours with intermissions. But not just him, and he's going to take 6 hours to go over the whole entire book that so far I'm on like week 6 because it's a new week. I'm on 6 weeks in, and Dakik, let me get the book, and then I'm gonna close it. Okay, so we up to, it's 100 points in this, right? Basically, and this is a Hambali primer for beginners, right? It's 100. It's basically 100 questions and answers, right? This is what they start you off with in Hambali Fiqh. Matter of fact, 106. In 6 weeks, which it's already Friday, technically Saturday, Monday, week 7. So coming into week 7, we only on point 60. We on point 60, right? Questions, quizzes, debates, exams, midterms about to come up. I think midterms is, as a matter of fact, I think midterm is next week, if I'm not mistaken. I have to look. Midterm exam, then we got a big final exam. Test hard as ever too, I ain't gonna stunt. 7 weeks. But in the morning, in 4 hours, a scholar is going to go through the whole entire joint with us in 6 hours, with a couple of intermissions, and then whatever questions, whatever we need to ask, answer our questions and all of that. Okay, translator, for people who English ain't that strong, who Arabic ain't that strong, or they stronger at reading but not in conversation. But, there's going to be a translator and everything there. So, I just look at that and be like, dang, 6 hours. With some breaks in between. Right? And they actually going to be in Mecca. You know what I'm saying? So, basically, my man's now, he putting it on Zoom for us to be able to see it. Right? So, the people who who signed up, people who he teach, and we get to come in, so we're going to be on Zoom, and we're going to listen to the Sheikh, get our questions answered and all that. But 6 hours, and I'm on 7 weeks with them. But I don't read the book, and we doing 2 courses. So we doing Akida, and then we doing this. The Akida, we ain't even we further along on it. But anyway, man, I ain't gonna drag that on. But so that's the type of stuff they say. Who do you sit with and all this other type of stuff, and just sitting with the scholar tomorrow, well today, in a few hours, we get a listening ijazah. We're going to have to answer some questions and stuff like that, but you get a certificate where I can sit down and say, I sat down with Sheikh such and such and learned this book from him. Now, it ain't a teaching ijazah. He not qualifying me to teach it. You understand what I'm saying? But you have these people, but I am going to have some certification that I sat and learned the book from him. You know what I'm saying? Ask questions, all that. But you have these people. Who do you sit with? What do you do? Name your men and all this other stuff. Name yours. You know what I'm saying? You name yours. But anyway, man. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.